Ole, 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 ole. What a night for Danton Heinen and the Boston Bruins as they crush the Montreal Canadiens 9-4 on Saturday. We're going to talk about that game, the roster moves made prior, and what's up next. A huge game tonight against the Winnipeg Jets. Let's get into it on a brand new episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans? Welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoke to Be. Today is Monday, January 22nd, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine. It's free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Visit fanduel.com/lockedon to get started. A thrilling victory on Saturday night for our Boston Bruins, 9-4 over the Montreal Canadiens. And they have a huge test coming up tonight against the Winnipeg Jets. Before we get into all that, a quick reminder, you can find the podcast on social media at Locked NHL Bruins. And you can find me, my dad jokes, hockey tweets at Ian C. McLaren. Now, let's start with the news that dropped before the Canadiens game. Don Sweeney announced that Brandon Carlo, Derek Forbort had been added to the active roster, and John Beecher and Mason Lohrei were assigned to Providence. It's a bit of a surprise. Many would have liked to have seen either Oscar Steen or Jacob Lauko sent back to Providence, but it's a simple case of asset management. Beecher, Lohrei do not require waivers to be sent down, whereas Lauko and Steen do. Chances are they wouldn't be scooped, but there's the risk there, and it's a risk analysis, risk management. You don't want to lose either of those guys for nothing via the waiver wire, and so you elect to send the guys down who do not have to go through waivers. John Beecher, I think, has played very well this season. He's an important guy in the faceoff circle. We all know Mason Lohrei's upside, and he showed that in a win yesterday for Providence, in which he scored just a fantastic overtime goal. If you didn't see the highlights, go check it out. Both guys certainly will be back on the big roster. Like, they'll be the next men up for sure in the case of injury, or if there is a move to be found for one of those other guys who requires waivers. Maybe they can find a taker and get something back, recoup some draft picks that they have lost or have traded away in recent years. So that was the big news there. Carlo, it was revealed that he suffered another concussion, which is very concerning. We wish for the best for him, that he can avoid that kind of injury in the future. Forbort coming back as well for the game against Montreal, in which every player on the team, except for Matt Poitras and Forbort, recorded a point. Every Bruin got on the score sheet points-wise, except for those two players. And the big performance was put in by Danton Heinen, who recorded his first career NHL hat trick. Just a exceptional accomplishment for Heinen, who, don't forget, came into this season without a contract. He was on a PTO in training camp, began the year without a contract, stuck around, was rewarded with, a league minimum contract, but still an NHL job nonetheless. And he has chipped in more than worth his value at this time. And he had the 3 goals, which was unbelievable to see. He said some games you feel like you play well, you help the team and stuff like that, and it may not go in. Other nights, you may not feel like you have it, and sometimes it goes in. And he felt like that was maybe one of those nights, but he's just trying to help the team. It's nice to help on the scoreboard as well. And when it comes to helping in on the scoreboard, it was kind of a back and forth affair early on. The Canadiens opened the scoring. Brandon Carlo tied things up. Montreal went back up. Jake DeBrusk scored. Then Danton Heinen added his first. Montreal came back to make it 4-3. Heinen made it, Montreal made it 4-3. Heinen scored his second to make it 4-3. Charlie Coyle scored his 16th of the season to make it 5-3. And while the Bruins would score or allow another goal, they ended it in the third period by scoring 4 unanswered, capped by the hat-trick goal for Danton Heinen at 10:40, which came on the power play. Danton Heinen just all over the ice in this one. And again, 16 players had a point for Boston. Only Poitras and Forbort were held off the score sheet in terms of shots on goal. It was David Pastrnak who led the way with 8. He had a relatively quiet night, only 1 goal, 1 assist. Didn't even lead the team in scoring. That was Heinen with the 3 points. He had 5 shots for the hat trick as well. Just an unbelievable game overall for Danton Heinen and for the Boston Bruins. We talked about the roster management. Steen, Lauko staying up. They, didn't get a ton of ice time in this one. They, Steen was actually the odd man out in this one. He sat out in favor of Matt Poitras, Jacob Lauko, Jesper Boqvist, and Jacob Lauko. He had a pretty respectable 13 minutes and 43 seconds of ice time. He had an assist. He had more ice time than Heinen, DeBrusk, Boqvist, and Poitras, which is pretty crazy. But he also got an assist, so he's chipping in as well. And Steen, the odd man out, we'll see if he gets in here against Winnipeg. But overall, a fantastic effort in which everybody chipped in a point except 2 players. We'll talk about some other guys who chipped in, what is key to Boston's recent run of success, and preview the game tonight against the Winnipeg Jets here as the podcast continues. You can turn your car into the MVP right now with eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. They have over 122 million parts, and you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. In fact, with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. That is available only to U.S. customers, I should add. eBay Motors, you are burning rubber and not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. They have all the parts you need at the prices that work for you. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply, but visit ebaymotors.com today to find the right part for your vehicle today. Thank you so much, friends, for making Locked On Boston Bruins part of your daily routine, free and available on your favorite podcast app, as well as on YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, Locked On has recently launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts from Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. All right, before we get back into the positives from that game, we'll talk about some things that perhaps needed a little bit of work. And it was Linus Ullmark, who was making his first start in a while after being on the shelf with a lower body injury. He came back. It was very limited shots that he faced, only 21, and he allowed 4 goals on 21 shots for an .810 save percentage. The Bruins, the talk was the offense, how impressive that 9 goals was, but allowing 4 goals to the Canadiens, a bit of a cause for concern. And I guess we can kind of chalk that up to the fact that they had a couple defensemen and their goalie coming back from injury. So perhaps there was a bit of rust there. It was a pretty wide open affair. And maybe there was a bit of rust there coming on. The Bruins typically are pretty solid defensively. They rank 4th with a 2.64 goals against per game. And so this 4 goals was uncharacteristically high for them. And hopefully it was just a bit of rust for Carlo, Forbort, and Ullmark here as they look to get back into the swing of things. Offensively, though, I mentioned Heinen with the hat trick. He led the way with 3 points. A bunch of guys had 2 points as well. Charlie Coyle continued his near our career record pace here with 2 points in this one. I made an appearance on the Locked On NHL podcast today, and I mentioned how he is on pace for more points than Patrice Bergeron had last year. He's played in all 45 games, 16 goals, 20 assists. He's on pace for 29 goals and 36 assists for, 65, 66 points. And that would be a new career high for Charlie Coyle. His previous career high was 56 points set back in 2016-17 as a member of the Minnesota Wild. In fact, he's only eclipsed 20 goals once in his career. That was even earlier with Minnesota in 15-16. He had 21 goals, 21 assists for 42 points. His career high was 56 points, where he had 18 goals and 38 assists. So he is on pace to smash his career high in goals and in total points. James Van Riemsdyk chipped in a couple assists. He, along with Heinen, providing outstanding value on his contract at the moment. Who else had 2 points here? Brad Marchand with a goal and an assist. Jake DeBrusk remained hot with a goal and an assist, even though, like I mentioned, he had limited ice time. Pasternak with a goal and an assist as well for 2 points. And then Frederick, an assist. Zaka scored a goal. Geeky, Boqvist, Lauko, each with assists. Kevin Shattenkirk with an assist. Brandon Carlo with the goal. Hampus Lindholm, Matt Grzelcyk, Charlie McAvoy, all chipping in assists in this effort. Just unbelievable offensive display for the Boston Bruins, who, suddenly are a bit of a juggernaut offensively here in the Eastern Conference. They rank 7th in goals per game, 3.47. So that 9 goals boosting their offensive output. And overall, we all remember the losing streak before Christmas, right? They lost 4 games in a row, including one to the Jets, who they're playing tonight, by a score of 5-1. Since then, they have 1 regulation loss, and that was 6-5 to the Pittsburgh Penguins. They won 4 in a row coming out of the Christmas break. They lost that game to the Penguins, then beat the Lightning. Then they had that run of losses in a shootout and overtime. And now they've won 4 in a row against St. Louis, New Jersey, Colorado, and Montreal. Just going back to cost per point, James Van Riemsdyk ranks 13th in the NHL at the moment with, what is it here? looking at cap friendly. Cost per point is $34,482. He has the second best cost per point, only to Stefan Nason of the Carolina Hurricanes. That's of standard contracts. Actually, Jonathan Drouin ranks third for Colorado. And then you have James Van Riemsdyk for the Boston Bruins. Let's see where Danton Heinen's at. He ranks 35th among all players in the NHL. Cost per point, $45,588. And that's among players with all contracts, including rookie level deals as well. If you put it to pending unrestricted free agents, Van Riemsdyk ranks third, and Heinen is also top 10. So great signings there for Don Sweeney and company. So great game overall for the Bruins. A bit perhaps leakier defensively. Jim Montgomery said it speaks to the evolution of the team growing offensively. Never envisioned having a night like this. It was kind of they were honoring the era of the 86 to 2000 team, kind of an 80s night where it was back and forth. But that offensive explosion was very much needed for the Boston Bruins, and Coyle meshing with Pastrnak and Marchand right now. And Brad Marchand, the captain, afterwards said, "We knew this was how they were going to win this year. And a complete team effort. Obviously, Pasta's an exception. He produces every night, but we win by committee here," he said, and that's how you need to win in the playoffs. And of course, everybody's got an eye to the playoffs. You think, well, look at the success they're having now, but can they translate that into what matters most? We all still have that Panthers series fresh in our minds, and tonight's game will be a big test. Now, a couple more notes. Marchand had his 20th goal of the season. It's his 11th consecutive 20-goal season, passing Patrice Bergeron and Johnny Bucyk for most in Bruins history. Pastrnak reached the 30-goal mark for the 7th time, matching Bucyk for the second most in Bruins history, behind Phil Esposito and Rick Middleton, each who have 8. No question that Pastrnak is going to break that record. He also surpassed Peter Klima for the second most 30-goal seasons by a Czechia-born player, behind only Jaromir Jagr, who's got 15. So he's about halfway to reaching that. All right, the Montreal game is behind us. Up next is the Winnipeg Jets. We'll preview that game and take a look at what else is ahead this week for the Boston Bruins here as the podcast continues. We are deep into the NFL playoffs right now, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Their app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays, their new Explore tab where you can find bets you may not have previously thought of. You can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. And it's not just for NFL. You can also get in on the NHL and NBA action. For example, tonight's over-under for the Bruins-Jets game is set at 5.5. Jeremy Swayman likely making the start with Connor Hellebuck. Might want to take the under in that one. FanDuel.com is where you want to go. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to make your first bet a layup. FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. All right, a huge game tonight between the Boston Bruins and the Winnipeg Jets. Currently the top 2 teams in the NHL in terms of point percentage. The Vancouver Canucks are 2 points ahead of the Jets in the West, and 1 point ahead of the Bruins, but they've played 46 games, whereas Boston's only played 45, and Winnipeg has played 44. Winnipeg leads the NHL with a 727 point percentage. The Bruins are at 722. Vancouver at 717. So incredibly tight atop the NHL standings. All three of these teams are also top three in goal differential. Vancouver's well ahead at plus 57. The Jets are plus 45. The Bruins are at plus 38. And a big reason why the Jets have been so successful this year is because of goaltender Connor Hellebuyck. He's the front runner for the Vezina Trophy, possibly even in the MVP conversation as well. 23-7-3 with a .927 save percentage. I imagine it'll be Swayman in net tonight. He's 14-3-7, so a lighter workload, but his save percentage right up there with Hellebuyck at .923. I believe they will be without leading scorer Mark Scheifele, so that's an advantage for the Bruins. Nikolai Ehlers, Cole Perfetti, Kyle Connor are your next top three scorers, with Josh Morrissey on the blue line also adding some offense for the Boston Bruins. Like I mentioned, Mark Scheifele will not play tonight against the Bruins, so that is obviously an advantage for the Bruins. Adam Lowry leads the team in points over their past 5 games. Gabriel Velarde, who came over in the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade, with 3 goals. Lowry with 5 assists over their last 5 games. David Pastrnak leading way for Boston. He's got 9 points over their last 5 games. The Jets are coming in 9-1-0 over their last 10 games, including 2 straight over the Islanders and the Ottawa Senators. The Bruins are 6-1-3, riding a 4-game winning streak, I should say. So it's going to be a huge test for the Boston Bruins. These Jets are legit Stanley Cup contenders, and they beat Boston 5-1 back exactly 1 month ago, December 22nd. Now, their special teams aren't particularly special. This could be an area that Boston could take advantage of. Their power play is only ranked 23rd, and their penalty kill is ranked 25th, whereas Bruins are top 3 in power play. They rank 3rd. Their penalty kill is 5th. Winnipeg's team defense, however, is best in the NHL. They're allowing only 2.25 goals per game, so the Bruins will need that complete effort if they want to beat Winnipeg tonight. Their offense is ranked 12th, and of course, like I mentioned, they're without Mark Scheifele. The Bruins offense ranks 7th. Their defense ranks 4th. So this should be a very, very good game. One you're going to want to tune into for sure. Who knows? Could be a potential Stanley Cup final preview, although we're really getting ahead of ourselves there. After this one, the Bruins still have a busy week as they head into their bye week leading into the All-Star break. They'll have a game on Wednesday at home against the Carolina Hurricanes. They're in Ottawa on Thursday to take on the Senators. And then Saturday afternoon, they'll be taking on the Philadelphia Flyers. Then they'll get a whole week off for the bye week, All-Star break, and then they don't play again until February 6th. So we'll have to get creative with some podcasts there in between things. Anyways, consider yourselves fully caught up here on all things black and gold. Locked On Boston Bruins is your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every day, and we'll be back tomorrow to discuss the game against the Jets and what it means for Boston's chances in terms of the cup check, where they rank among the top 5 teams, and how they stack up. Big game tonight. Don't miss it, friends. We'll talk to you again here tomorrow on Locked On Boston Bruins.